What's up, upstanders? Dr. O here. And so, as a popular saying goes, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And I've been finding myself thinking about Henry Ford and Elon Musk nowadays. And I'm sure when many people saw this, they immediately thought to the whole thing relating to the automobile because, they both own and revolutionized the automobile industry, even though neither of them invented the automobile or invented the electric, vehicle as relates to Elon Musk. Both of them bought into, companies that were already doing this work in some way, shape, or form, or invested in it in some way, shape, or form. So there's that. And then people can talk about, their genius, their titans of the industry and all of that other type of stuff. I mean, I don't think that, Ford needed Roosevelt to like sell cars in the White House lawn or anything like that. But, you know, they were both doing their thing at the time. But there's another part of this that people tend to forget is that Henry Ford was a anti-Semite and he was racist. Like he didn't like many people, right? And if you look at some of the documents that were put out about this guy, it becomes pretty obvious. It becomes pretty obvious if you go to pbs.org. They talk about Henry Ford is highly remembered as one of the most consequential figures in the history of the American automotive industry. He revolutionized manufacturing in ways that truly fueled the modern world as we know it. Now, let's be mindful of that because when World War II came around, Roosevelt was using, the Ford company to help create machines of war, and he was turning them out faster. So there's another connection to that as it relates to what Elon Musk has been doing with, Starlink, and the Biden administration was using him. He's getting money under, Obama administration. So there's been that kind of rapport with the government in some way, shape, or form. But PBS continues a full understanding of Ford's legacy, however, must also include acknowledgement of a side of his character sometimes omitted from discussions of his significance. Henry Ford was steadfastly committed to virulent, racist, and anti Semitic views that he clung to for most of his life. He used his vast resources and influence in a sustained campaign to spread bigotry and conspiracy thinking throughout American society. Ford consistently refused to employ Jews in white collar jobs within his companies, and he was a supporter of various anti Semitic organizations, including the KKK. Lastly, I'll share this part. In 1938, on the occasion of his 75th birthday, through their consul in Cleveland, Ohio, the Nazi regime bestowed on Henry Ford the Grand Cross of the German Eagle, the highest award granted to foreigners by the German government. I didn't learn about this part about Henry Ford till I was probably an adult, like well into my adulthood. So there's another rhyme there with your boy Elon Musk, because he is anti-Semitic as well. And I'm not gonna be that guy. I'm not gonna be the guy on this platform that's gonna talk about awkward gestures and all that other type of stuff. I had a student in class mention the fact that maybe what Musk did was like an awkward gesture, as people were saying, and maybe he deserves the benefit of the doubt. And I said, you got to be mindful of things. There's a couple of things. If somebody like my mother did something like that, why would she get the benefit of the doubt, in terms of maybe just raising her hand in a particular way because my mother doesn't have a history of anti Semitism? And on top of that, if my mother was to do something like that and be called on it, she would apologize and recognize it was wrong and try to atone for it, because that's what my parents taught us to do. Particularly, my mother was big on the importance of of atoning, and both my parents talked about the respect for humanity. So when you don't do those two things, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. He never apologized for offending people in any way, shape, or form for his two Nazi salutes at the inauguration. And then on top of that, you meet with organizations like the AFD, which many consider to be a Nazi leaning or Nazi or neo Nazi style organization in Germany. Same group Van spoke to, by the way. And so you could run down the list like, what has Elon Musk done? And I know back in the day, people could say he was kind of more Democrat. His car was like the Prius was like a symbol status for people who were like, considered liberals and in, wealthy neighborhoods or whatever. That got replaced with the Tesla. So people will consider him like, kind of a star of that movement, environment, and so on and so forth. But particularly since he got down with Trump, like, what has he been doing to support, the Jewish community in any way, shape, or form? What has he done to support, black folks in any way, shape, or form, or other non-white groups? I mean, the man has touted eugenics. He's talked about, things relating to purity of races and all of that other type of stuff. So, history rhymes. Like, just behind every fortune, there's a crime. Well, most fortunes. It's a poem. I know him. And I think that if we understand history, if we learn from this, we can have more instruction as it relates to call it out. Because Ford was called out by many people, and some feel like, he started to regret or feel differently about things and started to get more involved in philanthropic efforts like, Ford Foundation and so on and so forth. But we cannot ignore this history. And so many people spend time talking about Elon Musk's brilliance and he's a genius and all that, like he invented the electric car. But, smart investor and all that, sure, fine. But yo, you can actually be smart and be a racist. You could be a genius and be a sexist. You could be the brightest scholar in the world and be a homophobe. Like, at what level of IQ do you get? People stop talking about you being able to be some of these other things. Oh well, he had this number IQ. He can't be racist. What? Look at people who built some of these bombs and blew up stuff and created weapons with some incredible people and created incredible weapons that were used to slaughter other people. They were built for that purpose. They weren't used to hunt deer. They were used to slaughter indigenous populations. So I think that particularly with what's going on in this society, we have to be able to call a thing, as I've been saying multiple times, and we have to be able to connect the dots as it relates to the historical similarities in what we're seeing now. Because, like I said, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And that's why I say Elon Musk is the Henry Ford of our time. What do you think? Peace.